December the 27th, 2021. Guys, you're looking at current temperatures, and it is now 5:09 p.m. Central Time. That's 6:09 on the East Coast, and that would be 3:09 over on the West Coast. And you can see the temperature change as it goes through the central part of the U.S., moving northeast. Here, where we're at in central Mississippi, let me turn and look at my weather station. It is 71 degrees, and the sun has set. We still have a lot of light, but the sun has just went over the horizon. And you can see here in the temperatures down around New Orleans, 78, closer to the Gulf. 77 around Montgomery, Alabama, 73 up near Memphis, Tennessee. And then as you get north of there, you started getting into the colder temperatures moving towards the northwest. And that's going to affect us here in the southeast, guys, by Wednesday, maybe tomorrow night, going into Tuesday night into Wednesday. More rain, possibility of some severe storms. And we're way past due. We're, again, December 27th, a few days away from 2022, which is going to be a unforgettable year in many ways. But again, this heat wave that we're going through, which to me is is unprecedented in a lot of ways, because we really haven't had a winter here yet. And tomorrow there's going to be records that are falling here. I think the record was 77 degrees for tomorrow, and it will be up to around 80. Then you're going to have this change. So again, watch for some changes in that. Now, I think what's happening, because if you remember, I did a video several months ago about AccuWeather and the Farmer's Almanac were calling for a long and colder winter. And what's happening, in my opinion, is that because the Arctic Vortex, which is circling around the top of the planet, around the North Pole, you can see it extending down from Canada in the pink here, guys, coming down into the northern states, minus 13, minus 21, minus 15, minus 4. Look at that. Those are dips in the Arctic Vortex. Now, Europe and some of the other countries are experiencing the winter that was predicted here. And is that going to be a seasonal change, or will that change as we go into the next few weeks? The temperatures will drop going into January and into early February if you look at the long-term forecast. Getting into the 50s for a few days, staying for a week or two into the 30s at night, 20s, a couple of those nights. So we're not out of the clear yet. But let me say this also. This is very unusual weather, but what's something that was pointed out to me today by Tina, my wife, was, guys, we live, if you've watched the videos for a long time, we live out in the middle of the woods. I mean, we're a long way from any large city, kind of nestled out in the middle of nowhere. And we have always had a lot of birds and squirrels here. My wife has always fed them for years and years and years. But now that I don't know if it's the weather messing up some of the patterns, or whatever it is. We'll talk about that a little more. But there's almost a zero amount of birds. We've seen some crows, saw a hawk yesterday, a big one, saw some buzzards, but the smaller birds that we always see in central Mississippi in this heat, we're not seeing at all, almost none. Now, are we looking at a canary in the coal mine situation? Because there was a study, and let me pull it up so you can see it too. I think it was from Cornell University. And this article was published back in October the 9th this year, 2021, so a few months back. And it's from the Times Record News. You can look it up and type in, where have all the birds gone? And what they're talking about in this article is a couple of different things, but one paragraph in it stuck out to me, and I want to share that with you. Now, this study, which came out of Cornell University, birds are in fact disappearing. This study goes back now, would be 51 years. Since 1970, the bird population in North America has plummeted by 29% from 10 billion to 7.1 billion. Almost 3 million birds are gone. Scientists point towards climate change and the destruction of natural habitats as the primary reason for the decline. Imagine a world without birds to greet the sunrise. The article goes on to say geese to fill the skies, trees without songs. Imagine the natural world replaced with concrete, steel, plastic, and virtual reality. They're kind of pointing to, and I think they coded the word somewhat, that the interference of man has a lot to do with this. And guys, if you look at the canary in the coal mine situation, which many of you are aware, and I hate to even say it because it's such a well-known knowledge base that in the coal mines and things like that, they would have a bird cage, and if you can do a tour on some of those old mines, and they'll have those cages to where if you started getting a gas leak or the air got really bad, the bird would quit singing, it would die, and that would be an indication that you need to evacuate out of there very quickly. They're more sensitive to us than we are. I mean, they're more sensitive to that type of pollution in the air, for instance, or lack of oxygen than we are. But they're very sensitive to electromagnetic energy because that is their compass, especially the migratory creatures, but even the local birds that you don't really see migrate that far, which we right now are not seeing for the first time and that I can remember in my lifetime. It's very important for you guys to come into the comments, and I don't want you don't have to tell exactly where you are, just maybe the state or something like that, to where we'll have some kind of idea if this is a section, maybe the southeast only or whatever. But again, going back to electromagnetic radiation, the lines of force around our planet, that is what makes your compass work. That's how whales, fish, birds, probably almost all animals besides humans, because we've really turned off a lot of those very critical senses because we're so wrapped up into the physical world that we can't close our eyes. We can't properly pray or meditate and slow all of that down to where those other senses that we were gifted with come back to life, because they're being replaced by man-made and manipulated frequencies, visuals, sounds. But anyway, we're probably one of the few that really don't understand it, but the birds do. Now, is there another form of electromagnetic energy out there? It's one of the words you can't talk about, one of the two subjects you can't talk about. But I have heard reports around these energy towers of a lot of dead birds. Now, I can't remember exactly. I think I was watching someone's live show, or maybe it was YouTube Live. Callers were talking about the host was talking about it. But again, I want to ask this question. I think it's important because of the canary in the coal mine. If these towers of energy are becoming stronger, what happens first? The canary in the coal mine dies and the people evacuate. So are we seeing this preliminary first alert coming from the birds? Don't know. I'd like to hear your input, guys. It's a heads up. Be safe.